So by last class, we were seeing about uh, what is generally AWS, how the infrastructure of AWS has been deployed throughout the world, and we were seeing basics about IAM, like how we create user groups and how the policies are getting associated with them. Today, what we will start, like, we will see some more options that are available in the IAM today. So, and then we will move to EC2 instance today. So that's what we are going to cover. Mhm. So yesterday we were seeing this IAM policies and how I can write some custom policies and get associated to the user or groups that we have seen yesterday. Today we are going to see something called mm, IAM policy. Uh, the additional options would be like whatever the user you create in, like I have created two users yesterday, right? Like Satish and Loki. So for these users, if you need, you can set up the multi-factor authentications. If you go to security credentials, there you have an option for multi-factor authentications. So what will happen? Previously, when I used to log in, I was just giving the root account ID and then username and password. But after you given all these credentials, it will be ask you with like like additional MFA. So MFA are like some, like multi-factor authentication can be like anything. So what we generally use is like mostly we use like OTP or this authenticator apps. Apart from there, like for authentications, like plenty of other options are available. So devices that support in AWS are like this Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, whatever the authenticator app that you know, that you can use, or you can use some security keys. So like even if you go for some organization, they will provide you security key for after you authenticate your laptop. Each and every day you have to plug in the security key in your laptop. So these are some common MFA devices that you mostly use for your account signing. Um, like, and then if you go to that user account, and then if you come here, you see this multi-factor authentication, right? If you do assign MFA, and then you do some set them like what kind of authentication you need. Either you need passkey or security key if you have any security, or if you are going to use authentication app. So like I will give it as like some app, and then next, then it will be ask you to set up the authentication app. So what you would you have to just show this QR, open your authenticator app, like if you have some Microsoft Authenticator or Google Authenticator, open this authenticator app and scan this QR and add the two MFA codes that is generated for you, and then add it. So that's how you add the MFA codes for the new user. So this thing you have to know in general. um, and then uh, one more thing would be like access key. So what is this access key? So each and every time when you authenticate, mostly you will not be you will be not using this Go console. If you have some application, if your application needs to talk to the AWS account for some deployments or to fetch some details from the S3 bucket, or to like trigger some Lambda functions. So those cases, like you will create an user account in order for your user account to get a like your user account to get authenticate to AWS, you have to create this access keys. So when you create this access key, like you see, it will just give you like what is your scope here. So the use cases will be command line or some local code, or where or any third party application is using that, or applications outside AWS. So I'm just giving that as a, yeah, CLI. CLI means command line interface. So when we were running Docker, kubectl, those times and all, we are running some commands, right? Some command line interface. That is what we call CLI. So I am going to create this CLI and its scope only to this to the command line, not on some other applications. Okay, and then I just click enter, and then I give some demo something. and then I create access key. So and then you now you see then access key and then secret access key has been created for you. You copy this access key and secret access key. So while comes to AWS CLI, we will see a separate class for AWS CLI. Where we will use this access key and secret access key, and then by using this key alone the application is going to talk to the AWS cloud. Okay, so and then I'm done. So you cannot get for now I'm not copying this key because I no need. I will delete this keys. So if you click the show button, you will see the secret access key. So this access key is like in your username, and this secret access key is like an password. Okay, for your account this access key is like an username, and this secret access key is like some password. You just copy them and keep it with you whenever you in AWS CLI commands. You can see about in the internet how you can install AWS CLI, install on Windows something. You will get some general installation, like you see the AWS documentation is available for you. You for Linux or Windows, whatever it's there, you just download some plugins or some MSI packages and do the installation. After that, you have to type some AWS CLI commands, and then you, if you do AWS configure, it will ask you this secret access key and access key. That's it about this thing. So, and one more thing is about roles. What is this roles are? So, so like in order for your so if you consider, so you are an username, you are a person here, but what happens in case, consider your application is running in EC2 instance, it need access to S3, how this authentication happens, how the permission will be given. So those times you have to depend upon these roles, because these roles you can associate these roles to any like PaaS or IaaS services in the AWS. By using this, the EC2 instance can get access to the S3. So by simple you can remember, like if one service in the AWS, it has to authenticate or like it has to have some permission to other roles or other resource, it has to use these roles. So what I will do is like I will create a role here. Mm, it asks you what services first. Okay, now I will be choosing it as an AWS service and choose a service as EC2. uh, and then if you select okay, and then I select some next option here, and then I select some permission here, because the first option here is like choose the entity. Let me go back. First you have to choose the entity. First I am selecting the AWS service itself, and then I choose the entity as EC2 instance. My EC2 here needs an access, and then if I come here and then I click some S3 or something, I giving S3 full access, and then next, and then I give my role name like S3 uh, access for EC2, and then you see uh, the first step you added the entity as like EC2, and then I'm adding the permission of AWS S3 full access, and then I'm creating that role. That's it. Now this role is get created. This role we will attach it to the EC2 instance, and so the EC2 instance, like if you EC2 you deployed some application in EC2, and if you need to access the S3, it will be access using this role now. So that's it about this IAM things. So we will move up to the next service here. Mm, okay. So let's go. Let's come to the EC2. So we know what is this EC2? Elastic Compute Cloud. Okay. Like in short form we call it as EC2 because Elastic Cloud Compute. So it's an infrastructure as a service. You can just request the whatever the infrastructure you need, whatever the CPU or memory or storage, or whatever the OS that you need, you can request from the from the AWS, and you can create a server out of it, and then you can do the application deployments. It is the most common AWS offering because uh, because this is a general one. So if you go for any cloud platform, we will be using the virtual machine, or we will be using the AKS cluster for the deployments. So let's move to the next slide. So in AWS, let me go to um, the console itself. I will start explaining every option from here. This is how you see the console for EC2. You just type EC2 in the search bar or something, and then you do launch instance. So after you get the launch instance, the first option you would be seeing is like uh, you will be like creating a name. I'm just creating a name called demo, and then the next option would be like the OS for what's the OS for this one. So here for on the quick start, you will see multiple OS. If you want Amazon Linux, Mac OS, Ubuntu, Windows, Red Hat, SUSE, and then Debian. So what other um, commonly used OS will be available for you here. So here also you can choose it, like here you see, right? If you it is like Amazon, what version you need? If it is 2023 or 2 LTS, SQLs, because a lot of in if it is like even the Ubuntu, if you choose Ubuntu itself, you will be having different layers. If it is like it's Ubuntu, the current release is like Ubuntu 24.04. The previous one is like 22.02, and then some server pro version is there. So like that, you will have different versions on the different OS. So you can choose whatever the version you want. I'm just giving it as Ubuntu and 24.04 here, and then if you know like this yeah, this Amazon machine image. What is this Amazon image? In short form, we call it as AMI. So all these images of this OS, mostly some of them will be like this. If we consider Ubuntu, these are actually free. Amazon would have been took this OS and make the adaptation for the cloud, and they have updated in the portal. So, but sometimes you don't want to consume any of this OS from here. You want to like consume some of the OS which you have in your local. That's even possible. That is what we call this AMIs. So each and every image and version here I have some AMI ID. Okay, if this Ubuntu 24.0, it has some AMI ID, you see here, right? AMI-02F6 and ends with 6B6. This is an AMI ID for this version. Like this, if you can create your own AMIs, like you can take like how you will create this AMIs, like you first create the machine, and in your machine you do some deployments and you do some configurations, and there is an option to create an like image from this machine, and by using that image you will just store it in the AWS portal. After that, when you deploy a new machine, you will copy from the machine. So what I was saying is like, so consider this is my machine. Okay, this is my VM. So it is initially with running with some Ubuntu 24.04 OS. Okay, what you do is once you created the machine, on top of this, you deploy some softwares. You deploy some softwares. You configure some applications here. Okay, so all these details will be present in this OS now. Okay, all this will be details will be present in the OS. So in the portal, in the Azure portal, we have an option to take an AMI of this VM. Okay, so we will take an AMI out of this VM. So and then while creating a new machine, we will be creating a VM from the AMI which we took from the previous machine. Now this is a new VM. if you logged in here, you no need to do this software and application deployments once again in the new VM, because you already did all these things in the previous machine, and you took and convert it as a image that is called Amazon machine image, and then you can create the machine now directly. So because it will reduce your time on doing the repetitive works like the configurations or your application deployments, right? That's the use case of this AMI. And then let me move to the next option. So the next option available for you is like what architecture is there. It's what's the bytes. It's 64 into 86 RAM. So mostly we will be anywhere, like we'll be using this where it went array. One second, my internet is slow today, I guess. Hmm. Hmm. You see the architecture is like 24 or something, you just stick to it. You no need to change that. Mostly this Linux everything will be supported, and we will be doing all the things in the 64 bits only with. Then there is no 34 32 byte available for the Ubuntu here. Let me see, let it load. Yeah, no 32 bits are supported in the cloud. So, and then if you go to the instance type, this is where we say this free tier eligibility. This free tier eligibility is for 1 year, and the two only on the T2 micro. T2 micro is one of the type. The family we call this T2. So, and then you, in the T2 you have T2 nano, micro, small, medium, large is there. So it has, if you choose T2 micro, you will get one CPU core and 1 GB of RAM. So, uh, so it's completely free for the 1 year, and it's up to like some 720 hours per month. You can use this T2 hours. Like if you cross that, or if you're choosing some other tiers, you have to pay for that. So if you want to like use some bigger machines, if you go for T2, the pricing would change. Okay, if you use T2 large or something, it is like 2 CPU cores and 8 GB of RAM. Obviously it will going to double the cost, and it is not under the free tier eligibility, because when you create an AWS account, you will get 1 year free eligibility that you can explore, and you can create few of the services for free, but not all the services, only few of them. So here we have some T2 family. These are mostly a general purpose. So there is an each and meaning for this instance type. So if it is like T series, like this T2 or T3, it's mostly used for some general purpose. General purpose, you can use it commonly for anything. So if you use this C5, this C5 and like let me see if I, and then let me go to the slide. Hmm. Ah. So see, all these series are used for general purpose. So yeah, the machine type you see here, right? So the Mac T4G, T3, T3A, T2, MG, MG5. Uh, no, you're not in MG5. You consider this T2 series is for general purpose, and then there is something called compute optimized. Compute optimized means so you can just like remember something. So this all these family types are supported for general purpose, but in compute optimized, what's the difference between this general purpose and these compute optimized means? So each and everything where you will get the same kind of cores, CPU core and the memory only. Like here also you will get the one CPU core, there also you get the one CPU core. But what's the difference means the hardware that is built for general purpose, and the compute first compute will be different. How we are nowadays comparing the Intel with Nvidia, right? Like how we compare CPU with the GPU. There's a huge difference between the CPU and GPU. Okay, so compute optimized, you will go for this kind of machines when your workload or some application needs more CPU, and it has to process any application very faster. Those kind of times we will be using this compute optimized machine, or else we will be using the general purpose machines only. And then the second option would be like memory optimized. Memory optimized, if you are planning to deploy some kind of relational or non-relational database in the EC2, then I would suggest to go with this kind of machines like R5 series. So if you want R5 series, you can go. If it is like you just consider because you have to keep remember these things, you can just consider in general purpose we will be doing one of the type will be T2. In computer optimized it will be C5, and then in memory optimized it will be R5, R5 series. That is memory optimized, and mostly it is used for relational and non-relational databases or some kind of when you have huge data sets in your database, it has to be it will always present in your in-memory cache. So whatever in your phone or something you tell, right, it's my phone is 8 GB RAM, like 1232 GB RAM. Why you need that much of storage? Because if you have like 6 GB or 8 GB RAM, like while you play PUBG also, if you played with some 8 GB RAM mobiles, you will be feeling it is working faster because it's because of this memory only. Like how big the memory you have, like 8 or 16 or 32. So those space that complete then applications can occupy, and it can because this memory things will be needed for the application to run, okay, on day-to-day basis. Um, where you will be running this memory optimized machine, and the storage optimized, it's similar to a memory optimized machine, um, but the use cases are different. Storage optimized machine needs when uh, so memory is needed when you think your application is going to consume your memory, okay, like if my like 32 GB of RAM or something. Storage means like you have SSD, right? uh, you know hardware and SSD, right? So if my application has large number of data sets in my storage, then if it will take some more time to get process those things, so those times you will be going with this L3 storage optimized machines. So that's the difference here. So you can see the all kind of mission types here. So if you go see M type missions is there, R type mission is there. If you scroll here, you will see all the kind of mission types here. So some of the mission types are like grayed out because for this kind of architecture or in this specific region where we deploy, this would have been not supported. That's the thing. Some of the missions are like grayed out here. You see whatever the machine type instant type you need, based on that you can choose here. And then we know about this keypad. This keypad is like always consider it as a lock and key. You will be generating when you create a keypad, that the most common type would be RSA. So let me select. I already have the keys with me. So when you create the most RSA means encryption type. So you just name it. So the public key will be attached to to your machine. So the private key will be get downloaded to your local machine. So by using that in the putty or something, you can access this machine. And then this network setting. For now, I will explain the basics about the VPC. Later, when we go through other classes, we will explain. We will be in brief. We will see the VPC. So in VP, you see in VPC, right? So uh, by default it chooses an it is taking the default VPC in the Azure, like in the cloud. So each and every region will have its own VPC, okay. Each and like Asia, Mumbai will have its own VPC and Hyderabad will have its own VPC. So for this region, you can see a default VPC is there, and your machine is going to installed there. What is this VPC? So VPC is like an uh, this is my AWS cloud. This is the Mumbai region. Consider it as Mumbai. Here you will be having this VPC. Okay, it's like a virtual private cloud. That is what we call VPC, because this is getting by using this internet alone, this is getting isolated from the internet. So this is apart from this outer box of AWS, everything is you can consider as an internet. Here, if you check in inside this VPC only, we will be deploying the VMs. This small box what I'm drawing here is the VM. So like that you can like deploy multiple VMs here. For now, you can just know about this thing. Now let me see. We'll see what briefly about VPC. So consider it as VPC. It will have so we know in each region we will have like at least three availability zones, right? That's what we have seen in the last slide. So consider my in this VPC of Mumbai, we have three availability zones. So you can create like you can create a number of subnets you want in different regions. But consider I'm going to create three subnets. Subnet means so some if you're going to create VPC with some CIDR of 10.0.0.0.0 by slash 16. So what is these things? So in the world, totally the available IPs for on the public is like 2 power 32. Okay, in the world totally you have like if you calculate the public IPs on the IPv4, IPv4 means you will have the only the four digits, and if you calculate the 2 power 32, whatever the IP ranges you get, so these are the maximum possible public IPs that are available in the throughout the world. Okay, that's the reason we have these private networks because public IP I no need because you made a decision that your application no need to contact to the internet each and every time. Mm, it has to but it has to have the uh, it has to have the at least a private IP. So if you have the private IP, so the machines that you deploy in the VPC gets communicated without any issues. Okay, by default, whatever the machines that do you deploy within these VPCs will have access to each other. So if it is slash 26 means this last two digit consider this digit like varies from 2 power 8, and then the next digit will be varies from 2 power 8, and then the next digit after that will varies from 2 power 8, and then the next digit from here it like varies from 2 power 8. So from what number it can start from 0 to 255, that is the maximum thing. So you cannot have an IP like something called 367 something and then 247 or something. That's a wrong public address. Okay. So always the public address should be in like the digits should be start either from it's from the range of 0 to 255 only. That's what we talk about it. Like two power if you take like 2 power 8 means this 256 ranges only will come. 256 IPs like ranges for year. So if it is like slash 16 means only the last two digit is going to change. Okay, because year you have 2 power 8, in the year you have 2 power 8, year you have 2 power 8, right? So it is like 16. If you have slash 24 means if you have 10 dot 10 dot 0 dot 0 dot like consider 10 dot 1 dot 0 dot 0 dot slash 24 means only the last digit is going to change from 0 to 255. Okay, this is how the private IPs and public IPs mostly going to look. So this is what if you put after the four digit you put slash 24 something something, that is we called CIDR, like we call it as a CIDR block. Okay. um, so now you consider now you have to select here on which VPC I'm going to deploy. So by default it is selected the default VPC, and I have like consider like I have three subnets here, subnet 1, subnet 2 and subnet 3 on three availability zones. We know at least we will have three availability zones like zone A, zone B and zone 3. So it will here is there is no it will takes in the default subnet, and then you have an option called auto assign public IP. So if you think if you know if I will give the edit option, hmm, you see I didn't created any other VPC, it is using the default VPC that is created in the Mumbai region. So it is using that, so there is no preferable subnets is there. So I'm going to see you see there are three subnets are created, right? In the AP South, we already called this Mumbai region as AP South 1. We call it as a primarily, but then you come to subnets, it is divided into AP South hyphen South hyphen 1A, AP South hyphen 1C, AP hyphen South hyphen 1B. You see, right, three subnets are there. If you want to specify like it has to deployed in this particular algorithm, you just choose it. Okay, now I choose the public subnet. Now there is a public IP option is there. We already know why we need this public IP. If you have the public IP alone, you through the internet you will be able to connect to the machine. If you don't have this public IP, you will not be able to connect from your local machine. Either your machine and this VPC wherever this instance we are getting deployed need to be paired. If unless it getting paired, you will not be able to connect. For now, just remember this we need this public IP. If you know more in most cases wherever the application is getting deployed, nobody enables it. They will always disable the public IP because none of the public IPs are free. Okay, if it is in use, it is free. Okay, what do you say, like if you have an if you create an EC2 instance and you have an auto send public IP, if you are using that public IP, it is free. If you are not using that public IP, it is not free because you are storing that public IP, right? Because somebody else can use that. Because this each and every time you like stop and start this same VM, this public IP will be changed automatically because you cannot reserve this. You cannot reserve this because if you plan to reserve it, you have to pay the cost. When it is in use, you no need to pay. When it is not in use and you plan to reserve this IP because you don't need for your end users or in your any DNS provider, you keep on updating this public IP. You will like how to pay for this. So each and every organization they always reserve these public IPs because in throughout the world, what are the public IPs available? Whatever it is free, they will reserve it for their organizations. That's how it's been happening. Okay, now if you don't want public IP, you can disable it. I am actually enabling it. And then there is something called firewall rules. What is this firewall rules? We have seen some Jenkins and then what like sonar cube like installation and all. So you might have know this firewall takes care of the inbound and outbound traffic from the machine. So you have the inbound rule. If I try to add some security group rule, it is trying to add, right. So I choose some custom TCP, and then I choose the port range is like 8080. And then I add it. So this is how the inbound security group, because it is creating me a new security group here, and where I am added the SSH because SSH we know by using the secure shell protocol alone we are accessing the machines. That's why it is open on TCP protocol and it has been open for throughout the world. This is the 0.0.0.0/0. This means from the internet. So same thing, similar to that, I'm opening one more port called 8080, and it is open from the throughout the world. You can choose from which IP range it has to be open from, but like you can specify any public IP or private IP for that. So only from the connections or like signals from that IP alone, um, it is going to work. Okay, that's this inbound security rule defines. Um by default, by default, like inbound rules all you have to see. Let me put here. It is a VM, right? Consider this firewall as an outer layer. By default, all the ports are blocked for inbound. By default, all the ports are blocked here. Blocked. But for outbound, it's vice versa. For outbound, all ports are actually opened. So that's the difference. That's why you here you mostly see what are the inbound rule that you have to open. If you are not able to have any, if you want to control about the outbound, once the security group is created, the security group is like an firewall. When the security group is created, we in the same in EC2 session we'll have security groups. You go there and then you edit it. So whatever that rule that you feel need to be added, you can add it here. So, and in the advanced uh, network configurations, uh, some of the other things are like some, oh, you no need to focus on those things now. Mm, okay. uh, the next option would be like storage. So this is my laptop. I am like my laptop has like an 512 SSD. So similar to that, what's your storage you need? Because in the storage only whatever the installation you do, or it is going to store those files, right? So there are like different storage tiers available, like GP3, GP2, and IO1 and IO2. So what are these types? So these are like these are like the hard disk. Previously, when you go before like 5 to 6 years before, we always call it as an hard disk, right? So because these hard disks are so slow, that's why we move to this solid state device. Hard disks are like mostly deprecated. None of the peoples are using them, because whatever, if you have 500 GB and you have deployed your application and it has a lot of files, it is very tough for their application to retrieve the um, data from that. But when it is SSD, you deployed some application, it the processing of the hardware is very fast. That's the reason people have moved to SSD. So this EC2 machine is like, it's similar to whatever the laptop you hold, but you create it from the cloud environment. So you choose it. You choose your CPU, RAM, storage, your network, and then you choose your AMI, and you choose some custom scripts here. So there are three types are available. One is like this is what we called as an EBS as well. Okay, by default, in any laptops, you might have seen, first you will see in the C drive. This C drive is the root volume. Okay, all the system binaries, everything will be installed there. Similar to that, this is whatever the storage that we create here, it is getting attached to the VM directly. If you need any additional disk, like you have D drive, E drive, Z drive, or something in your laptops, right? Those drives, we will be creating an additional disk and and get attached to the EC2 machines. So consider it as your root volume. Consider it as, always consider it as some C drive. So you just specify the size of your C drive, and there are different types is there. So each and every types, while you move from GP3 to IO2, you have more IOPS. What is this IOPS? IOPS means like the processing, input output processing something. Okay, this IOPS, if the higher your IOPS, it will be better for your application to like retrieve the data from the from the machine. Okay, if I move to GP2, you see, no, it has to come, right? Hmm. If you go to IOPS SSD IO02, you see 800 IOPS is there. And then if you move to SSD, you have 400 IOPS. But compared to general purpose, these proficient IOPS like are like higher type. And then if you have C, GP2 is the common one, and it is not encrypted. And then we have GP3. So here you see the 300 IOPS. So if you have large data sets, and if you think you are storing them, and if you want like fast processing of them, you will be configuring this storage option for higher end. So mostly people will be with the same GP3, they would be increasing the numbers here. So okay, you would be increasing numbers to some 16 or something, whatever the storage that they feel like to be added, they will be adding that. They will not be changing the types here, because this general purpose GP3 is the most used SSD in the AWS. So if they are deployed some high compute application, then you can move to I01 or I02, and these are like bounded to the availability zones. So uh, because it's an hard disk, right? It has somewhere it has to sit in any of these availability zone, right? So it will, if you don't specify, it will get attached to any of the availability zones. So and then we have some of the advanced details here as well. So what are these advanced details? So you might have know about this domain join and all, right? uh, the thing is, so if you create some VM, like if you can create think like you are creating your Windows, okay? So in always when you create some Windows machine or something, you always need to add it to your organizations. So by using this domain join option alone, they would be using these things. So these are the new option that AWS has been brought. And then what you can what you can see is like IAM instant profile. So if you create, so we created a role, right? Today we created some role called S3 access for EC2. So now you can attach this role here. So your application, whatever the application I'm going to deploy inside the EC2 machine, will have access to this S3 to the S3 by using this role. So now you see this role which we created is got attached here. And then and then you enable the DNS host names. DNS host names means it is providing you an unique name for your machine, because you create your machine name with some demo or something. But wait, where it went. Okay, leave it. We'll just explore the options what we have here. And then what we have, the DNS names. DNS means like domain name service. So your VM gets an unique name. By using that, you can access that, or you can use the private IP. And then these are some options available for you, like instance auto recovery, shutdown behavior. Once you do the shutdown, whether it has to be stopped or it has to be terminated directly. So those kind of options here, here you have. I want to talk about some important options alone. And then displacement groups. So here I didn't created any placement groups. What is displacement groups? Because in the initial class when I was talking about, people are still they're not very compliant, are not very confident to move to cloud, because they are not sure when they create this EC2 machine where they're going to keep their machine. Because if their machine is running somewhere, there must be some data is there. So this data should be complaint, and this data should not be shared with other organizations. So what they will do is like they create these placement groups. Okay, so if you create this placement group, it's like some reservation in the cloud. So a particular hardware or particular room, in a particular room, a particular machine, the allocation is always preferred to you, that none of the people is going to touch. Okay, you do the complete reservation. If you think like a room is full of a servers, you just blocking that. And then you, whatever the applications you deploy every day, you will be going to consider your application is going, your VM is going to deploy there. Because we are not sure wherever it has the space, it whenever you create VM, it will get allocated, but you no need it. All your machines should be placed at the same place and the same room. That's why we always prefer this new placement group option. And then what other option you have? Capacity reservation is there. So and then I will go this capacity reservation where it went. Capacity reservation is there, right? So what is this capacity reservation? Like, if you are in the cloud, so consider, like, this is your workload, uh, and if you think like, so I know my workload and I'm going to run this workload for more than like 1 or 2 years, so then Azure will be giving you a lot of discounts. That is what we call reservations. You can either reserve for 1 year or you can do for reservations for 3 years. So what will happen if you are for running these machines, if you are paying like 100 rupees today, uh, when you go for like some 1 year reservations, they will give you discounts around like 40%. When you go for 3 year reservations, because you cannot reserve a single machine, you obviously, when you are going to reserve in the upfront means in the advance, you have to need to pay some money. You know that your this machine is going to take an $100 per month. Consider like it taking like $100 per month, and then you consider it like a 12 month, and then into multiplying into 3 for 36 months, whatever the cost would come. So if you go for 3 year reservation, you have to just pay the only one. You will get like around 70% discount on that. Only 30% of the cost you have to pay. So only like 30 rupees, like $30. And instead of $100, you will be paying like only the $30. If you go for like 1 year reservation, you will get 40% discount. So, and then there is something called spot instance. In the spot instance, you will get 90% discount. But the thing is, the spot instance, it can be it can be removed whenever they feel there is no space in the data center. Okay, so the spot instance, they will give it an like an 90 percentage discount. But the thing is, you have to run some stateless application or like some other application that you consider that is not like very important application. You can, using the spot instance, you can run them. But when, if they assure things in the room full of servers, they have all the servers are occupied, they will cut down the spot instance without providing you any sort of information previously. That's the options about this spot instance. And then and then the last thing would be like user data. What is this user data? So mm, consider like, after creating these machines, I have to do some apt update and all. Like apt, consider like, uh, you have to consider like you have to run some commands or something once the machine is run. So those commands you can just paste it here. So each and every time this machine is going to come up, by in this user data you will be having this information. So after the machine is getting created, there is docker container is going to be installed for you. So like that, whatever data, like whatever the script, the command lines that you feel, that you can type it, or you can choose it as a file from your local, and then you can upload the file. Like the file is like some txt file or something, it will come here, or you just copy the data and paste it here. So once the machine is created, you will have this docker container, the set of commands that you have here, it will be installed for you. So that's the thing about user data. So I think I mostly covered all the options. Let me go overview here. So yes, EC2 basics, OS, CPU, RAM, and then EBS and EFS we will see, and hardware instant store memory, uh, and then firewall we covered, and network card, like the public IP and private IP that get attached to your machine. Um, Now what I will do is like, let me check more. I will create a machine now. It's a Ubuntu 24.1, and no, I'm not going to. You see, T2 micro is not available for me here. You see, T2 micro, this instance is not supported in 1C. Okay, it's not supported because of the region which I, so I give it as no preference. I'm not giving any preference here. It also possible. Uh, Now let me go back, and T2 micro is available. Hmm. I choose a T2 micro, and then I choose the key. Hmm. Let it create. let it create. Let's come here. So we are talked about the firewall rules and then bootstrapping script, the user data, the last thing what we seen here. Um the user data is like you put some script, so once the machine is ready, those commands are executed in the next machine, and whatever the application or binaries that you wanted to install, it will be installed for you. And then we were seeing the instance type, general purpose, compute optimized, memory optimized, storage optimized, and those examples like T2 family is for general purpose, and then the C5 is for like more compute, and R5 is for like some memory optimized, and M5 for uh, um, M5 for storage optimized things. So you can go about these things. One, we are seeing the security groups, what is inbound rules and outbound rules. By default, all the rules are allowed in the outbound, but in the inbound it is everything is blocked. You have to open them. So we were seeing about that and security groups. Um, So we already know about these things, the port 22 for SSH, and then port 80 for HTTP, and port 443 for HTTPS, and then port 3318 for RDP. What is this RDP? Linux only uses these SSH protocols. Windows machines always uses the RDP protocol, and it will be like you have to use something called like RDP. You see, in your laptop in Windows machine, you always have this RDP. You just need to specify the IP and then the username, and then if you do connect, it will give you some password. It's password section prompted you have to provide. So by using this RDP alone, you will be connecting to the Windows machine, any machine, even if it is in cloud or something. You will be always accessing them by using this only for Windows machine. And then uh, Hmm. So this is what I was talking about. So in on demand, if you are paying like 100 rupees or something, if you go for 1 year or 3 year reservations, you will be getting discounts on these things. And then some saving plans is there. It is similar to the reserved plans. And then some dedicated hosts and dedicated instance are there. Like I told already, if you plan to like dedicated instance means, if you consider a room in a like a room we have the server things, only a particular small allocation start will be given for your machines. So no, and like you see, the no custom like a dedicated instance, no other customers will share your adverts. Like I am owning a company and you own a company. Like if I own this dedicated instance, you and you cannot deploy your machines in my instance. Okay, this this with dedicated host means it's booking the entire room. The entire room is fully booked, not only that particular slot. Now we are booked the entire room. So no, even if you use or not, you have to pay for that. So if you are going with these kind of options, we you should be calculating the workload, and then we should be doing these reservations. Okay, and then EC2 on demand. What is this EC2 on demand? And reserved instance, we get like 72% of discounts. We have to pay some upfront, like some for now this we have to know. I don't want to give much information. And then spot instant, we get 90% discounts. And then dedicate a host, if you know none of the customers want to share your instance. And then uh, and then we talked about what we know, what is like this public IP and private IP. So those things are here. And then uh, placement groups. uh, So I have just given the basics about placement group. That's fine. So there are different place group types are like, actually like there are three types are available. One is like cluster, one is spread, one is partition. So we no need to focus about this and all. So I think this is enough for this class to get completed. Tomorrow we will be seeing about creating an additional EBS disk and get attached to your EC2 machine, and then EFS things and all. We will see it tomorrow. I'm going to stop the